please feel free to ask any questions about the program, how things work, Toulouse as a city, France, etc. Please don't hesitate. So I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
No.
No.
Non, ok. Merci. Voyons. Et maintenant?
Yes.
Oui.
Can you see
Oui.
presentation? Wonderful, thank you. Merci. Super, ok. On va passer en mode présentation. Parfait. Okay, so for the Summer Abroad program, this is where your adventure would start at the Toulouse-Blagnac Airport. This is our group from last year. We had one group of about 42 students that came. My name is Julia Coggins. I am the Global Navigator Coordinator, which means I overall run the summer program as well as the high school program that goes on during the school year. I'm second from the left, and that's the rest of our team. To my left is Christine, our host family coordinator. So she helps me find the host families that host our students during the summer. To my right is Isabelle Jaffé, who is our center director and has been since the day that CIEE Toulouse opened in 2015. And to her right is Julie Dudieu, who is our student services and activities coordinator. So she is also very, very involved in the summer program, since she is really on the ground running all of the afternoon activities or the weekend trips we go on. So just to give you a visual of where France is, not where France is, but where Toulouse is in France. I imagine some of you who are interested in the program, perhaps you're more attracted to Toulouse, more interested in Toulouse, since it is a less known destination, especially to Americans. So Toulouse is in the southwest of France. As you can see, it is conveniently located between the Mediterranean Sea, the Atlantic Ocean, and the Pyrenees. So it's really an ideal location in France. Voilà. Ensuite, welcome to France. I'm sure you all have your own reasons for wanting to come to France. I can only give you a few because the list is quite long. Yes, the food in France is wonderful. A lot of our students, when they come to Toulouse, they talk about all the things that they want to try. Yes, French gastronomy is definitely something that you've got to have on your bucket list. Learning French, if you come to the HSSA program in Toulouse or in Paris or Rennes, French is an international language that is definitely helpful to have. It could be a huge plus on your resume when you guys will eventually be looking for jobs in the future. But learning a language also opens up to discovering new cultures, meeting new people. France is also a privileged place to learn about history. During the summer, you'll obviously discover a lot of spots, a lot of historical spots, some of them being well-known, some of them being really not well-known, even to a lot of locals that have a lot of historical importance. But we'll also, for example, on one of the weekends, go to Carcassonne, which is a medieval fortress about an hour away from Toulouse. And it is one of the best preserved medieval fortresses in the world. And it's really, when we arrive, it's like a storybook. It's one of those castles. So just having places like that that we can visit, that's really an excellent opportunity. And last but not least, meeting les Français. I know that in the US, we might have a lot of stereotypes or preconceived notions about the French maybe not being very welcoming or nice, maybe being a little snobby. I can attest those are all just stereotypes, and it is really a great opportunity for you guys to come and meet the French and see what they really are like, and you may be surprised by their sense of hospitality. Voilà, so that's why you would want to come to France, but why would you want to come to Toulouse? Pardon. So food, again, obviously, Toulouse being in the sud-west, so the southwest of France, has its own particular gastronomy with a lot of meat-based specialties like saucisses de Toulouse, cassoulet, magret du canard. We do have a lot of duck and goose farming in the area. So those are really, really local specialties. But for those of you who maybe don't eat meat or don't eat a lot of meat, there's obviously sweet treats too, like the chocolatine or the violette candies. Violette is the flower of Toulouse, and they make little candies or syrups with violette. So you could try something different just about every day of the program. Again, history and culture. Toulouse, as I said, it's a really neat place for culture. And there's a lot of things that aren't well known to either the French or even locals in Toulouse. If even just going beyond its history, if we talk about culture today, Toulouse is the capital of the European aeronautical and aerospace industries, which brings obviously a lot of employment to Toulouse, but also a lot of activity around those industries. And during the program, we will go visit the Cité de l'Espace, which is a really interactive museum around aerospace. And sometimes we can even go to Aeroscopia, which is the aeronautical museum. Voila. And down at the bottom, I don't know if you can see it or if it's being blocked by the little Zoom boxes, but Toulouse is what we call a ville à taille humaine, a city of human size. So it's really manageable. It has all the advantages of being a big city, lots of cultural offers, lots of museums, lots of festivals, bars, restaurants, cafes, indoor and outdoor markets, the hubbub of city living, lots of people. But it also has the advantages of being more like a big town where you might run into the same people on your morning walk. Transportation is really easy to manage, and a lot of commutes can even be done by foot, which is really convenient. Voilà. Donc, what's in a summer abroad program? So what are the basics to the HSSA program? So this is really just the bare bones. There's all sorts of extra details that will go into it and that you'll see when you're here. But it's basically 15 hours of your language class every morning. So 3 hours in the morning, Monday to Friday. Your morning classes are followed by what we call Ose le Français, which means dare to speak French or dare French, which are practice situations that happen right after class. They've always got a direct connection to the content you were learning in class that morning. And it's an opportunity to take what you did in class with your teacher and your classmates and put it into practice in real life situations out in the city. So talking to real French, having to go up to someone in the street and ask for directions, or maybe going to a restaurant and ordering your meal. And those you'll do with the students in your group, but also with your program leader, who is a French teacher from the US who will come and be a sort of chaperone for the program and who will really be present during those Ose le Français practice situations. After your lunch break, every afternoon has its own cultural activity or an excursion. It could be a mini excursion. We'll also have a few outings on the weekends. I mentioned the day trip to Carcassonne, that medieval fortress. We'll also have another long weekend to a national park where we'll have a lot of outdoor activities for 2 to 3 days. And then kind of a logistics point, where do you eat, where do you stay? You'll be living with homestays, so host families that live in Toulouse or around Toulouse. They'll provide you with breakfast and dinner every day, or the 3 meals on the weekend if you decide to eat with them, if you don't want to go out and eat with friends at lunch. And then Monday through Friday, you'll also have a CIEE lunch stipend. That way, between your class and the afternoon activity, you can quickly run into a boulangerie, which is a bakery, where obviously you can get the typical baguette, but where you can also buy a sandwich at lunch. Okay, so why you will love learning a new language while you're here in France, why you will love learning French with our program. The groups are limited to 15 students max, absolute max. So you're in small groups that maybe you're not able to be in when you're learning French at school, for example. You'll take a placement test before coming that will then verify with an on-site interview. It's just a few minutes to verify that if what you tested into is the correct level, so there's no need to be nervous about the interview. But really what's important about that is getting everybody into the right level, because that's very helpful for making progress over the 4 weeks. You'll all have local teachers, so they're French teachers who have worked with us before. We've got a really strong cohort that comes back every summer because they really like working with this program. And they all have master degrees in Français langue étrangère, so learning French as a foreign language. You'll notice that the lesson plans, they're very structured. It'll be very clear for you what you're doing every day. But then on top of it, your lesson plans are going to be coordinated with the activities and the excursions. So everything's going to be really linked together. And on top of seeing what you did in class during the community conversations, those in-situation practices, you'll also go over what you did in class, maybe in the afternoon activity. And then lastly, there is a language pledge that we ask everybody to sign and to take seriously, which is basically just everybody committing to speaking French 100% of the time, or the most possible. We understand that in maybe emergency situations, it's easier to switch into English, which is obviously understandable. But just know that everyone, the staff, the teachers, the chaperones, and the other students really take this seriously, that in a 4-week program, you've got to seize every second that you have to make the most improvements that you can in French. Ensuite, donc, Ose le français, these are those situational practice rounds that you'll have after your classes in the morning. They're fun and engaging challenges that you'll have to do around the neighborhood, maybe on the campus. You may even have a mission to do with your host family that evening. And the idea is really that you're able to come into contact with locals while having a direct mission and being supported by your teachers or by your chaperones. Voilà. So the photo, that's an example of Ose le français, a mission that the boys had to accomplish for that day's community conversation. Just to give you a few examples of possible daily activities and excursions, we can do a pastry workshop. So that's the photo you see up in the right-hand corner. This summer, we have one group that made a fraisier, which is kind of like a strawberry shortcake. That's what they're making here. And the other group made a Paris-Brest, which is kind of like a giant cream puff with hazelnut cream inside. Delicious. We'll also go on interactive museum visits where it's not just following a guide around a museum and listening to them explain each painting or each object. It's really interactive where you'll have a specific task or a specific mission to accomplish and then to share with the group. This past summer, we went to the Contemporary Art Museum, the World War II Resistance Museum. We went to the Cité de l'Espace, we went to a convent, we went to all sorts of places for the museum visits. We have different dance and music workshops. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, that's a photo from the hip hop workshop that we do every summer. We also do a traditional Occitan dance and music workshop. If you look into Toulouse's history, for Toulouse's culture, you'll notice that we're in a large region called Occitanie in the south of France that really had a very distinct culture, a different language that was kind of in competition and conflict with the French monarchy for many, many centuries, actually. So there is a center about traditional dance and music, and we go there every summer as well. The last photo that you see, that is from the intro to rugby practice that we had on an afternoon. That was a lot of fun. Students even got to meet amateur rugby players. So that was really cool. And as I mentioned earlier, all of the activities and excursions, they're linked to the curriculum. So you're never going to wonder, why are we doing this? What's the point? You're always going to understand how something links into class or links into that week's objectives or themes. Donc, ensuite, so come home to your homestay. I would say this is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, most important aspect to the summer program. I told you that you'll all be living with homestays. Our home families come in all shapes and sizes. You may be with a single woman, you could be with a large family with lots of kids, or an older couple whose children have moved out. Or maybe a younger couple with really small kids. Again, all shapes and sizes. They may be living in downtown, they could be living in a suburb. But all of our families love the exchange that they have with you guys over the summer. They love accompanying you during the 4 weeks that you're here, learning French and learning about France and the French, but also learning about the US through you. So they're really, really enthusiastic about these exchanges. In your homestay, you'll have a room that you may share with another CIE student or not. And as I also said earlier in the presentation, your host families provide 2 meals a day, 3 meals over the weekend. And they're there obviously to host you, to help you learn French. You'll notice that they'll have a huge impact on your language learning over the 4 weeks. They're there to help you in the ups and downs, help you understand cultural differences. And as I said, also there to learn from you. And then the last little detail that they do, obviously have a Wi-Fi connection so that you can keep in touch with your family and friends during the 4 weeks. And just last few reminders. So I believe you're all on this call because you've started an application or you're considering it. Maybe you've already finished your application and you're convinced that you want to come to Toulouse next summer, which is great. If you haven't finished your application, finish it by December 1st, and you'll be entered into a raffle to win a free flight, which is a pretty good plus. And if you click on alumni links, there were 3 alumni that were going to join us today that finally weren't able to. I don't know if they'll hop on later, but if you are able to get one of their links, you can get a $200 discount on your program fees. And if you have any questions regarding the application, a certain task you're not sure how to complete, don't hesitate to reach out to our team in Portland for any inquiries. They're there to help, and they're more than happy to help you with the application process. Voilà. So that is the brief presentation, just to give you an idea of what it's like here over the summer. Does anybody have any questions?
A quick question, Anna Salsa. Just wondering about concerns with COVID and homestay. It sounds like you had a program last summer, so do you feel pretty confident that people will be welcoming students into their homes again next summer?
Yes. I'm super confident. We have students here in Toulouse now. We're going to have more students arriving in January, so I'm more than confident we'll have host families hosting this summer, no doubt.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Avec plaisir. Any other questions?
Hi, I have a question about how many students for one host family. Is more than one? Thank you.
It can occasionally, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. Ideally, we put 1 student per host family for language learning purposes. However, we do often put 2 students per host family. Sometimes students feel more comfortable being with another CIE student, which is also understandable. That can actually kind of help students to reach out a little more, be a little more outgoing if they're kind of reserved. So max 2 students per family. And when host families can host 2 students, they either have a room with 2 separate beds or they have 2 separate rooms.
Okay, merci.
You're welcome. Avec plaisir. Any other questions?
Is this recording of this event something we can share with other people, like children who weren't able to attend or students that we work with?
I believe so. I'll check with a colleague just to make sure that there aren't any details about
Privacy issues.
Right.
Okay.
I personally don't have an issue with it. So.
I can jump in. This is Melissa.
Sure.
I work in the CIEE offices in Maine, and we are recording these, and we'll be editing out any personal information, and then we will be putting it on the website on the Toulouse specific page of our website, so people will have access to it.
Okay, merci.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Melissa. Any other questions? Anything about Toulouse in general? What it's like as a city?
What's the weather like in the summer? Is it pretty like
hot.
general?
Yeah.
It's hot. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. It is rather warm in Toulouse in the summer. We'll have an occasional heat wave, maybe a day or a few days where it is really, really hot. Overall, it's hot in the summer. And what's important to know is that AC is not really common in homestays. There are homestays with air conditioning, that's for sure. And if you go into a boutique or the cinema or maybe a restaurant, there's probably AC there. But it is really common to not have air conditioning in your home. So that's something you might want to be aware of just to kind of mentally prepare for a hot summer. But I mean, last summer, it started out kind of cool. I remember we were all like in long sleeves and it rained a lot the first days. And then it just suddenly was hot Toulouse summer. So it is good to think about having sunscreen, hats, sunglasses, that kind of thing for the summer. Other questions? I mentioned that.
Yeah, hey, I have a question. How about getting around? How about getting around the city, getting from your house to school and just generally around? What's that like?
So it really depends on every student. As I said, that some students are going to be living downtown, others will be in nearby suburbs. So some students may come to school by foot. Others will probably take a bus to a subway station, or maybe just a bus or just a subway station. We try to keep the commutes around 45 minutes max. But with such high numbers, we do kind of have to go a little farther out of Toulouse sometimes. But as I said earlier as well, public transportation in Toulouse is really, really manageable. There are 2 subway lines, that's it. They only cross at one station, so we can't really get too mixed up on the subway lines. But it is really an easy city to manage. And there's a lot we can do by foot.
How much money do you typically recommend students bring as spending money that's appropriate to cover costs of transportation and food on weekends, that kind of thing?
Well, let's see. The cost of transportation, that's covered by CIE for the program. So students don't need to, unless they want to take Ubers and things like that. But the public transportation pass, that's part of the program package. Let's see, for going out to lunch, for example, if you want to go out to lunch on a Saturday afternoon, lunch at a sit-down restaurant could cost around 15 euros. If you wanted to go out to dinner at a sit-down restaurant on a Saturday night, it could be more around 20, 25, 30. That's for meals. The lunch stipend during the week, that's also provided by CIEE. It's 7 euros. That covers most of if you go to a boulangerie and you get a sandwich with a drink and a dessert, you can usually spend between 5 and 8 euros for that. And then also we'll provide SIM cards, so there's no need to buy a new phone or anything like that as well. So I don't know if that answered your question very well.
That was helpful. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thank you. I have a question regarding, did you mention SIM cards?
Yes. So we'll provide SIM cards for students. which means that it's really important that students come with unlocked phones.
Right.
If a phone is not unlocked, we can provide a small basic cell phone that will do the trick for 4 weeks. But if students want to be able to use their smartphone, which we understand, it's really, really best to come with an unlocked phone. And then that way you can just insert the SIM card into it.
Are students expected to bring a computer?
They can.
In addition to the phone?
But right, if they have a smartphone, they can use that for a lot of computer needs. It is not a requirement, and you'll definitely still be able to do your schoolwork even without a computer.
Okay, thank you.
Avec plaisir. Other questions? No.
Will we be able to do laundry while we're there?
Laundry, yes. Either your host family will do laundry for you, or they'll let you use their laundry machine. That's kind of figured out between host families and students what everyone's comfortable with. You will also notice while you're here that a lot of host families don't have drying machines. That there's the washing machine, and then when everything's done, you hang them on hangers or a drying rack. And it dries really quick in the summer, so that's great. But yes, you'll absolutely be able to do laundry while you're here and at your homestay. You don't have to truck a bag to a laundromat.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? No? Melissa, do you have any kind of common questions that we get during virtual fairs that we could answer ahead of time?
Boy, I think that you have covered everything. I will put in the chat our general email so that if people have questions that arise and they haven't gotten responses here, they can send us an email. We also do virtual presentations every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time, so people can register for that on the website. But no, I think everything, you've covered everything.
Okay.
Nice job. Très bien.
Merci beaucoup.
One last question. How many trips, like longer trips, did you say students will be taking? Is it 2 or?
There will be 2 weekend outings, one for just a day, and another one will be over a weekend, typically between 2 and 3 days.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Anything else?
And one last question. Are
Yeah.
students able to meet up with you in France if they're coming from a different location, or do you require that they fly over and arrange to arrive at the airport all at the same time?
For the arrival, Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong, there's always a group flight or 2 group flights even. For arrival day, what we've done in the past, we are at the airport all day long. We have a window that we ask students to arrive within. The 2 group flights are in that window. If you can't get on a group flight or it's not convenient for you, you can book your own flight. We just ask that it's within that window. That way we're there when you arrive to the airport. So if the group flight is not convenient for you because you have to go to another airport or et cetera, you can book your own flight. That's most convenient to you. We just ask that you try to arrive within that window.
And if someone's not flying, if they come in elsewhere, if they're already in Europe and they join you, is that possible?
Yes, yeah. What we've done in the past, we've had students who've already been in Europe get like they were vacationing with their parents somewhere else. Their parents dropped them off at the airport, which was convenient because we were there. We were able to check in with the student, give him his welcome folder with all his information, transportation pass, SIM card, etc. We've also had students come in on a train, and in that case, we try to dispatch one of our team members to the train station to be there, and also have the host family be there at the train station as well.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Yes.
Because this is in Toulouse, so if students arrive in Paris, so they have to take a TGV to Toulouse. So the meeting will be in Toulouse or in Paris, as you said. There's a window that you will be with there.
Yep.
Thank
So our arrival point is in Toulouse at the airport, the Toulouse-Blagnac airport. If you're on the group flight, one of the group flights always goes through Paris. It's often New York, Paris, Paris, Toulouse. Sometimes they'll go through Amsterdam. Another one might go through London or Munich. But there's typically a group flight that always goes through Paris. So the student, they'll be with, if they go through Paris, they'll be with the group. All they have to do is stick with their group, with the program leader that'll be chaperoning the flight. And they don't have to get on the TGV. They just have to change flights at Charles de Gaulle.
Okay, merci.
You're welcome. Last questions? No? Going once, going twice? Okay. Merci beaucoup à tout le monde. Thank you so much for joining me for this brief virtual fair presentation about the HSSA program in Toulouse. As Melissa said, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send an email to the HS Abroad address that's in the chat box. And she will be posting this recording on the Toulouse specific site for CIEE. And I hope to see some of you or some of your children in Toulouse this summer. Merci beaucoup. Bonne soirée.
Thank you very
Merci.
much.
Au revoir.
Merci.
Merci.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Merci.